Thanks for joining us for City Council Comments. I'm Steve Erickson along with Councilmember Steve Wells. Today we're talking about both the December 1st and the December 15th City Council meetings. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
This will be like one of your last duties before you're done here on the council?
Probably. I don't think there's a lot going to be happening over the holidays with council. At least I hope not.
No, I was thinking that work sessions or anything, but
No.
probably not in the next 2 weeks here.
Nothing scheduled.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in again and talking to us about our two meetings in December. We'll just jump right in here with our first, or actually our last meeting of the year, which was on Tuesday, December 15th. At the top of that, we had some good news here, accepting a donation to the Coon Rapids Fire Department.
Yeah, a very generous donation from the VFW, especially in these COVID times. I know that I'm sure that their profits are down like most people, so it's a very generous donation of over $15,000 to the fire department, so that's greatly appreciated.
And it sounds like the fire chief knew right away what he wanted to do with that money.
Well, I think he had some options and stuff, but yeah, there's always needs. I mean, I know what that's like when you, we all do budgets that, the city can't afford everything or has to make some tough decisions. So, anytime you can get some, some money from somewhere, it's always greatly appreciated.
Yeah, all right. Like you said, donation was just over $15,000. Had a big check at the meeting that they presented, and that money will be well spent by the department. All right, Council, moving along to new business, we had two items there related to street reconstruction for 2021. We're already talking about that.
Yeah, it's kind of the same. The city has a program of street reconstruction, and Public Works does a great job of evaluating streets and having a timetable for replacing them. And, sometimes there's streets and neighborhoods that has to be pushed up a little bit. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you can't just go by years. You have to see the condition of the streets. And so it's pretty much what we always do. And, the typical homeowner is going to be assessed about a little over $2,000. And we think it's really equitable the way we do the assessments. A lot of cities do a lot more, and we try to keep the homeowner's share, reasonable. And of course, there's different ways that they can finance that. They can pay for it up front, or pay for it over a length of time. So that can be worked out with the finance department of the city.
All right. Now, in recent years, we've sort of been kind of accelerating the number of miles of streets that we're doing in that. Is that the case coming up here in 2021?
No, I don't believe it's an excessive amount this year, because we have kind of caught up a little bit and stuff. But I guess that'd be a better question for Public Works. But it seems like it's not more than usual. Yeah,
it's a little less, I think, is what it seems like. Folks that are impacted by this, I know there's some projects up in the Oaks of Shenandoah, but anyone impacted by this should be receiving notice from the city in regards to the assessment. And the public hearing was ordered, I believe, in February?
Yes.
That's the deal? February 16th is the assessment hearing.
Yeah, people will get lots of notice, and I know that the questions, always come up about access to their homes and stuff.
Right.
And, this is done every year, and certainly not going to say it's not going to be inconvenient at times,
right.
but it's understood that people got to get in and out of their driveways and stuff, and people will be notified to make it as easy as possible. And sometimes there's times when water will be shut off, and again, people will be given notice of that also.
All right. Looks like, I just finally found the map. There's 3 areas of the city, the Oaks, and then a couple areas in the southern and southeastern part of the city. Looks like about 6.6 miles of streets. So I think if I recall, we did closer to 9 miles some of the other years. Yeah. So this is a little less. Like you said, we've caught up on some of the backlog or the what we've been behind on. So.
Yeah, I was just on some of those streets down off Egret and Coon Rapids Boulevard.
Yeah.
It's not an area I get to a lot, but they definitely need to be redone. So, like I say, the Public Works does a good job of keeping track and doing the streets that need to be done appropriately.
Yeah, I mean, they have an extensive thing. They actually rate them and keep track of what needs to be done, and then kind of have a plan.
They're engineers, so it's complicated.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Moving forward, Council considered resolution of awarding a contract for a bridge repair project. This is that bridge kind of that we see coming into the city off of like East River Road and Coon Rapids Boulevard. And this item was actually tabled after some discussion.
Yeah, it's it's an interesting, it definitely needs the work done, but, you know, the council would like to take a look at whether or not aesthetically there could be more done than just what's going to be done, because basically it's just going to be some concrete repair and painting it, which is certainly necessary and would certainly improve the look. Down the road, you know, a pedestrian bridge is a possibility from the new townhouses, you know, across Coon Rapids Boulevard, and aesthetically, you know, you'd kind of like things to match and fit in and have a, you know, kind of have a plan. But the difficult thing with this is the bid that we've got for this repair, which, you know, seems like a lot of money, but everything's a lot of money. You know, $200,000 for this is only good for 60 days. So the council risks, if they don't accept this bid, is the next bid going to be higher? And also the question I guess I would have if I was going to remain on council is, could you add aesthetics to it later? I mean, maybe some of the things that you know you might want to do, this repair would still be needed to be done. Hopefully they'll get some of that information in a work session before they have to make a decision on the end of the second meeting in January.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, structurally, the bridge fine.
It's actually Mr. Hansen from Public Works interesting. He said some of these construction that was done before computers and stuff, they actually were overbuilt, you know, so that it looks rough, but it's not a safety issue at all. It's but it does, you know, concrete breaking away and seeing the re-rod and stuff is, you know, it's not pleasing, and of course it may make you think that it's deteriorating, but he said structurally it's sound.
Okay. So the painting would be for more aesthetics, and then council will be looking at whether they want to do even more to it than that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, you know, whether it be like a stone surface or, you know, a facade or whatever, you know, like you say, the big decision is going to be is could that decision be made after and still not add that much cost to it? That's a determination they're going to have to make.
All right, stay tuned. We'll find out here, it sounds like, in January. Council considered an easement agreement with Centra North LLC.
And that goes back to the pedestrian bridge being built over Coon Rapids Boulevard, to have this easement in place to build that bridge. You know, if down the road it should happen. So it's just a very practical thing and logical thing to get this easement now. So for the future we have it.
All right, and the pedestrian bridge is basically a proposal kind of in the Port Riverwalk area by what used to be Avocet. That's now Zilla.
Yeah. So just a little west of the intersection. It was the plans we saw. Now, whether or not they could change, I'm not sure. Obviously, if we get the easement, we plan on building it in that location. It's a very, as you can imagine, to go across that many lanes of traffic, it's a very expensive proposition. The city tried to get it into the most recent bonding bill, and it wasn't in. And we'll explore avenues through both state and federal monies to get assistance in building that pedestrian bridge.
All right. Council approved a resolution that approves the 2021 Teamsters Local 320 Collective Bargaining Agreement. This is our Public Works unit. There's actually a total of 4 contracts that the city approves, and this is the first of those for 2021.
Yeah, both the unrepresented employees and the Public Works Department settled on a 2% raise, and obviously some other language in the Public Works contract. And I think it's very fair for both the city and the employees, the 2% raise. 2021 is going to be a very interesting year, and probably beyond. It's hard to say what finances are going to be. Initially in 2021, the city received some CARES Act money, which is going to help the 2021 budget, because money that didn't go to nonprofits and businesses and could be used to support the city's public safety. So basically we saved money on public safety by using those federal dollars. So the city will carry over some money into 2021. Having said that, that's a one-time carryover, so it's not going to assist the budget down the road. And what's going to happen with local government aid and lots of things are all up in the air. We all know, you know, the state's got to do their budget, and we're affected by that. So Down the road, it's going to be complicated, but I think in 2021, this 2% cost of living is fair for both.
Yeah, and it's interesting how they do it, I guess. Didn't realize that they compare it to other cities and other agreements to make sure they're in line with, because obviously in the collective bargaining process, an arbitrator can come in at certain points and rule against you if you're not sort of in line with other entities.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with Public Works, to be honest, but with police and fire, you have binding arbitration, which the definition of that is the arbitrator makes a decision between the city and the union, and they both have to abide by it. Obviously, that's what makes it binding arbitration. So I have not any idea if police and fire are anywhere near that point. I'm not suggesting they are.
Yeah.
They're still in a negotiation process. But it's always, I know Councilmember Kostoviak asked about a 2-year contract, and it's a really tough time for both the city and unions to look to 2021, or 2022, I'm sorry. Because, like I say, we really don't know where things are going to be at in 2022, and it seems like a cautious approach for both to kind of wait and see. And it's just difficult to predict. Potentially, I guess if I was a union member, I wouldn't sign a contract for 2022. I think I'd like to see what was going to happen. So
I agree. And the last one was actually a 3-year, which was, I don't know, they didn't do many 3-year agreements that just expired this year. So I understand that kind of helps you set the budget going forward, but right now with so many unknowns with funding and all that.
City standpoint, for setting the budget, it works. Obviously, it's very nice. You can plan ahead.
Yeah.
But as you can imagine, even in good times, it's really hard to predict 3 years down the road what the economy is going to be like.
Exactly. All right. We also had a resolution establishing Bunker Hills Golf Course fees and charges. Not a ton of changes here, but there is one bigger one, correct?
The fee for golf carts went up. That was the biggest one. In fact, I think that was the only change. Okay. So I think Bunker is still, I don't golf, but I know a lot of people that do, and Bunker is still the best bang for the buck to have an excellent course, to be able to golf there for public prices, I think is a good deal, and that's why it's busy and really well run up there by Mr. Anderson and his staff. So I think, I don't think anybody will be too worried about the little excess in fees for carts.
I was just going to say, I don't think that'll deter the golfers from hitting the course out there. No. And again, that's another place where they look at other entities and other golf courses and seeing where we're kind of in line with things and adjust our rates with the market.
Yes.
All right. That is all we have to talk about from the December 15th meeting. Back to our first meeting of the month there, we actually had the oath of office to 2 new firefighters.
Yeah, that's always exciting. It's something I look back on and wish we would have done back in my day, because I think the council appreciates it, and I think the families and in this case, new firefighters or police officers, and I think it's nice for the public to at least get introduced to them and to them to get that recognition and stuff. So 2 new firefighters, and they've been off probation now, which I believe is 6 months on the fire department, and so I'm sure they're all, revved up and ready to go, and it's always exciting to get new people involved.
All right, and the 2 firefighters that received the oath were Paul Matonich and Anthony Tverberg, and a lot of times they start off as volunteer firefighters on this department, and then they will eventually elevate when full-time positions become available, become full-time members of the department.
Yeah, they hire off their paid-on-call list, and so yes, both these individuals. You notice I let you pronounce the names. You're the professional.
I did. I was like, I better say these.
But they're paid on call. That then and I don't know the percentage of paid on call that are interested in being full time, but several of them are interested, obviously, and it's a great way. You have these people working as paid on call. and you get a good chance to see who they are and their work ethic, and I know it's worked out really well for the fire department to do it that way.
All right. So if you're interested, they're usually looking for paid on-call members, and they actually train you as well. They put you through their fire academy, so it's always an option. Could be an option here in your retirement.
If they don't have an age limit, they should.
All righty. Moving forward, council recommended the reappointment of a charter commission member. This is Stephanie Masteller, it looks like.
Yeah, she was reappointed for another 4 years, and I think the thing that's important to mention here is, these commissions often have openings, and a lot of times you hear people that say they'd like to get involved in the city. They maybe don't want to run for office, but they'd like to be involved. I just ran into somebody at Costco that was telling me they wanted to get on the planning commission, and but the city's website will show where there's openings. There may not be an opening on the commission you want to get on right now, but I know there are several openings on commissions, and we'd love to see people get involved.
Yeah, and you can express interest in one if there isn't an opening, and they'll usually keep that on file, and then when an opening does come up,
exactly,
contact people. All right, so moving forward, council held the Truth in Taxation public hearing and adopted the 2021 budget and tax levy.
Yeah, I think a lot of times there's confusion on the truth in taxation. People get their tax statements and their taxes go up, or the value of their home goes up, and they think that's what truth in taxation is to talk about the value of their home, which it's not. It's just basically to talk about the budget we're setting for 2021. We had a very modest increase. We did include 2 police officers and an additional firefighter in the budget, which we felt that the workload in both those departments warranted that. And to be honest, in a better financial year, probably there may have been more, but that was a conservative growth to the city, based on where we're at, the uncertain budgetary times and stuff. So I think that, again, the staff did an excellent job. We've got a great finance department, great leadership from the city manager, and I think it's a very fair budget and, reflecting the times. Yeah. Again, what happens sometimes with homes going up in value, sometimes your house may go up more than another house, and so your taxes may go up more than you think they should. You hear that the budget only goes up, 0.89%, and you go, well, my house went up 5%. That's a complicated system based on the value of your home, and so I realize that sometimes if you're the one that happens to get hit with the bigger bump, you feel like the taxes are, the city's spending way more money, but it's really not that way. Unfortunately, your slice of the pie went up a little bit, and we really don't have any control over that formula for taxes and values. And there is a point where you can challenge the value of your home, and there's times when the city's assessment, has determined that maybe the assessment of your home is too high. Unfortunately for people right now, the way home prices are going, I doubt that that's going to be the case. And as we talked about earlier, I've known several people to sell homes, and every one of them I've known of recently has gotten offers for more than they were asking for their house, and not just one, but several offers. So homes seem to be at a premium right now.
Yeah. Like you said, it's complicated depending when your house goes up in value. The assessments, they come around and or evaluate your home every, I don't know if it's every 4 or 5 years, but they look at different sections. That could change the value then. Lower valued homes could be going up higher some years than others, whereas the higher value homes went up, previous years.
And then, you get into commercial and industrial property, and that, it affects things, yes.
And then everyone has their, the city has their share of the property tax, but there's also the school district, the county, and then a special taxing district. So complicated, but also, again, the best thing I think from listening to these discussions each year is if you don't agree with the value or the assessed value of your home, is to contact the city assessor's office, start their they can talk to you and work with you and let you know what to do going forward. But the other big part of that is the spring is when that hearing happens as far as values, where you can go into the truth and taxation hearing, right? That's usually in the spring, I believe.
Yeah. I still feel the city taxes are the best bang for your buck when I look at, public works, police and fire and our park system and everything. And people sometimes don't like to hear it, but most people are paying more for internet and cell phones than they pay for their city property taxes. So I think it's a pretty good bang for the buck.
Yeah, like you said, we sort of take it for granted, but it covers roads,
Exactly.
police and fire safety, all of that stuff. So.
Correct.
All right. Council approved an agreement. This is an audit settlement agreement with Comcast. We're getting some money back here.
Yeah, over $100,000. And one thing that I can definitely tell you, in 8 years, settlements with Comcast, with our hired attorney and their attorneys, they're long and they're drawn out. And I can honestly say I've never read one. But in this case, we're getting over $100,000 back, so that's a good thing.
All right. We're not sure all the nitty-gritty details of that. I mean, someone here is, but the bottom line, they go through, look at what is being charged, how they calculate packages and different things, and we get a 5% franchise fee, the city does, on the cable bill for having the cable lines and stuff run through the city, and then there's also what's called a PEG fee, which is for public education and government programming, which helps us operate here.
And basically, I believe it was mostly the PEG fee that it was felt we were overcharged for, and it was negotiated. And like I say, we're getting over $100,000 back, so that's excellent.
All right. That are all the items we had from that meeting. We skipped over a big item on our last meeting of the year, but we recognized you and Councilmember Bill Kicker, who are outgoing council members this year.
Yeah, and it was a pleasure to get to know Bill Kicker. Great guy, Coon Rapids guy, grew up in town, really cared about the city, and did a great job on the council. And that's a nice thing. That's, I go back a long time, obviously, in the city, and I probably went to 300 council meetings before I was on the council. Yes. And this city's got a history of people really being on the council for the right reasons. They all care about the city, and even though we may disagree a little bit on some things, 99% of the time we come together for what's best for the city. So it was a good experience. As someone who retired in 2010 and said I would never run for council, it's funny how a couple of years changes your perspective, and I'm glad I got involved. For me, the timing was right. I never intended to serve more than 2 terms. Was happy to do so and enjoyed it. And now it's time to move on. And a couple new people on the council who I'm sure will carry on the tradition of just doing a great job for the citizens of Coon Rapids.
All right. Tell us about, for folks that don't know necessarily, did you grow up here or you moved here at a certain point?
No, I actually grew up in New Brighton. I started on the police department in 1978, and my wife and I had a home in Champlin at the time, and I moved in 1980 when interest rates were 16.5%. Luckily found a home that had 8% contract for deed, but those were the times when, interesting, the city had passed a residency requirement for police and fire, and a couple officers newer than me had moved into their homes, which in fact, they got the 8 7/8% money that was going around then. But to my knowledge, I was the only one in the police department that was forced to move in. I had a year till I was off probation, so I moved in 1980. And shortly after that, the state legislature said the cities couldn't require that residency. So it was a little stressful to being forced to move with 16.5% interest rates, but it all worked out for the best. We loved our house and neighborhood in Coon Rapids, so. And like I say, now we're in our second house now, but I've lived here for 40 years. So.
Interesting. We were just talking earlier before this show, and people that would say 16% for a mortgage these days, when they're locking in at under 3%, would say you're crazy.
It's a different world, yes.
Yeah, things change. So obviously you were a patrol officer, and then you sort of moved up through the ranks of the Coon Rapids Police Department.
Yeah, I was promoted a couple times, and then became chief in 1998, and then I retired in March of 2010, which is soon to be 11 years. Time just flies by. If time could slow down a little bit, but it doesn't do that. So, no, I had 32 years with the police department, 8 on the council. It's a nice round number, So, I'm still involved. I mean, I'm on the North Star Lions and still on the Coon Rapids Crime Prevention Association, Community Strength. So, I mean, I don't plan on going anywhere or not being involved, but someone else has turned on the council.
Yeah. Anything you're most proud of over the 8 years that you served on the council, or?
Well, and one of the things that I was advocating in the early 2000s, just as a citizen and stuff, was a park referendum. So the fact that we went to the voters and got a park referendum in 2013, the first year I was on, was very important to me because we just didn't have the money to do the things we needed to do, and we're still benefiting from that. I think they'll probably use the last of that money for some trails next year, but I look at Sand Creek Park and some of these other, Crooked Lake Park, and they're beautiful, and it was needed. Unfortunately, it doesn't last forever, and I could see, in 5 years, maybe the council will do it again. Obviously, that's we'll have to see how things go. But and then that referendum passed on a very slim majority, but it did. The public did pass it, and I know that a lot of people are very happy with the things that were done in the parks, and Lions Coon Creek Park is beautiful, and that's a destination. I mean, I know, daycares from Andover and Blaine, go to that park. And so, I mean, I think it's something for the city to be proud of, some of these parks that are, I know, our Lions group works the concession stand, and we just get raves from people about that facility there for softball tournaments and the like. So, that very happy that we went ahead with that and got that going. And I think, like I say, we're still benefiting from that referendum and stuff. So, but a lot of good things going on in the city. And again, I just can't say enough about staff. You need staff to, for the day-to-day work and to get things done. And I see a lot of good things in the future for the city too.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you for being here today. We appreciate your service, your years of service on the police department as well as on the city council, and we wish you the best. We know we will be seeing you somewhere again, I'm sure, in the future.
Right. Thank you much.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Thank you at home for watching. Have a great holiday, and we will see you back here in the new year.